I'm Daniel Cunningham, CEO of Leonardo 24/7, and today we're going to talk about the power of a move-in, move-out checklist. So it may seem like a simple thing, but performing a proper move-out checklist can mean the difference to a property's bottom line. Because if you're not performing a move-out inspection correctly, you're missing out on resident charges and damages that are rightly should be charged back to the tenant ledger. And there's a number of reasons that that happens. Number one, move-out inspection is not performed thoroughly. And you may have somebody on site who's not familiar with all the intricacies of a move-out process, and they're not checking for everything that they should be. So you want to provide consistency. You want to make sure everybody is looking for the same things. They might not be assessing the right values to items that need repair or need replacement. So you need to provide some consistency so people are always reporting those values in the same way. And you may inspect everything, you may assign the right value, and the information might never make it to the tenant ledger. So you need a way to make sure that all that information that's collected is then pushed into the tenant ledger so that you can create a proper statement of deposit accounting. And yet every day a lot of those steps are missed because a property might not be using a digital move-in, move-out checklist like the kind that you can use through Leonardo 24/7. And it starts with creating a move-out checklist that, first of all, captures the status, whether it needs to be repaired or replaced, of every piece of equipment, furniture, finish, carpet, appliance in that unit, and then compares it to what the status of those appliances and furniture, etc., were at move-in, so that then you can easily compare, okay, where do we have, and demonstrate, where do we have damage that's done by the resident that's legitimately belongs as a resident charge. Being able to capture all of that and then get the resident to sign off like, yes, this is the condition of my unit, is a real game changer in terms of how you can easily collect this information and easily turn that into a statement of deposit accounting that is not controversial, right? That you don't have to argue with your resident about what those charges are. If you do end up going to court, you've got a document that can substantiate the charges at move out versus the charges at move in, and why you included the charges you did against the tenant ledger. Oftentimes what happens is the move out inspection is done and those charges and that information just never make it into the PMS system. On-site operations is chaotic, and balls can get dropped when there's not a process that's automated that makes sure that things happen consistently every time in the same way. And that can happen when you have a system like Leonardo 24/7 in place that automatically launches the move-out inspection when in the PMS system somebody has noted that the unit is now on notice that somebody's going to move out. So that way it happens automatically, and the checklist that needs to go along gets pushed out automatically. And if it doesn't happen, Leonardo would notice, raise its hand and say, hey, this inspection hasn't happened here. And when it's done, that information goes back into Leonardo and goes back into the PMS system to help create the resident charges, and then the SOTA happens automatically. So the hidden value of having a thorough and detailed move-out checklist is, number one, regardless of the experience of the person who's doing the inspection, you're going to get the same thorough inspection every time, the same way, with the same standard of charges, and that removes any of the guesswork from whoever's performing that move-out inspection as to how it should be performed. When you've standardized your move-in, move-out inspection workflow, you can always consistently compare what was the status of that unit at move-in versus what it was at move-out. And when you can do that, you remove the argument between yourself and the resident as to whether or not the charges that you're allocating against that tenant ledger are legitimate. You've got proof. You've got photos, and you've got an inspection that they've signed off on at move-in, and you've got photos and inspections that they sign off on at move-out. That just removes all the guesswork, and it creates consistency so that you know that the right charges are being applied, there's no bias, and if you have a system that automatically takes that move out inspection and those tenant charges and puts them into your PMS, well, now your statements of deposit accounting, your tenant ledger accounting happens automatically every time, and there's no gap in inspections that we did. Yes, we looked at the unit, but we kind of forgot, to put that on the tenant ledger, and now they've been moved out for 2 weeks, and it's too late to do that. There's a lot of lost revenue in failures to communicate to the resident in a timely fashion what their tenant ledger, what their charges against their tenant ledger are. And with a proper detailed move-out inspection, that problem just goes away. So, in addition to a proper move-out inspection checklist and process, creating sort of ironclad tenant ledger charges, it actually really helps prepare for the next move-in process, because as speed of unit turns is paramount to minimizing downtime and loss of rent, you want to be able to communicate efficiently to your service managers what to expect when they go into that unit. Does the carpet need to be replaced? Or the appliances need to be upgraded? If you're not capturing that information at move-out, then the first time the service manager or your technician is going to learn that information is when they step foot inside that unit. Why not give them all the information they need beforehand to say, when this unit turns, when these folks move out, expect to replace this appliance, expect to upgrade this carpet, and that is a huge value to both the time it takes and the reduction in time it takes to turn that unit, and to help capital plan and budget for the year where you're going to have, where you can expect to have capital costs to replace things at move-in time, like appliances and carpet that are close to the end of their useful life. You can help project that for the next year, so that if you need to buy equipment and furnishings ahead of time, you can do that. And from an asset management standpoint, all of that translates to reduced loss of rent, lower costs of turn, and perhaps even efficiencies in purchasing and lower costs of expense of the material itself. I'm Daniel Cunningham, CEO of Leonardo 24/7, and thanks for joining me today as we talked about the power of a move-in, move-out checklist. For more information about Leonardo 24/7, please join us at leonardo247.com and click for a demo.